In the modern world, where technology connects people but also opens doors to scary mysteries, scary stories often start from seemingly harmless decisions. Craigslist, a buying and selling platform, has become a haven for scammers, dark secrets, and unimaginable encounters. Where the light of truth is obscured by the shadows of greed and despair, these stories will keep you on the edge of your seat. Prepare yourself, because what you are about to hear will make you think twice before pressing the send button on any transaction. Story 1. Scary Encounter. That day, I reached the bottom of despair. The misery and boredom of my life pushed me into odd searches on Craigslist, a platform I never thought I would have to use. At age 28, I felt a deep sense of shame as I sought salvation in classifeeds filled with fake images and unreliable ads. Despair has become an indispensable part of my life, and I search for a little hope amid the unreality. Amidst the ridiculous and fake posts, one article stands out with a rare authenticity. The attached image is not a sexy woman in provocative clothing, but a brown-haired woman with a normal but realistic appearance. The simplicity of the photo makes the article seem more trustworthy, as if it were opening a window into the real world. A phone number was provided, and when I texted, the blue iMessage bubble appeared, showing that the recipient was using an iPhone. Her text message arrived quickly, with 3 dots signaling that she was typing. She introduced herself as Jen, but advised me to call her Jenny. We talked for a while, and I gradually flirted with her until she gave me her address. With the car keys in my hand, I felt an indescribable thrill. Feelings of shame and anticipation mixed together, making me not know whether I should feel excited or nervous. After a few minutes of driving, I came to a dark dead end in a seemingly forgotten area. The house she mentioned was at the end of the alley, and when I saw it, a strong feeling of anxiety filled me. The house was old and shabby, with tall grass and dust, as if it hadn't been cared for in a long time. I got out of the car and knocked on the door. Silence prevailed. Not a single sound could be heard from inside. Suddenly, my phone vibrated, signaling a text from Jenny asking me to come back. The gray bubble showed that she was typing, but then disappeared not long after. Doubt began to gnaw at my mind, but desperation forced me to continue. I decided to go around to the backyard, open the rotten wooden gate, and step into the dark space of the yard. When I looked up at the window on the upper floor of the house, my heart stopped when I saw a blurry figure staring intently at me from above. As soon as that person realized my presence, they immediately retreated and the curtain slammed shut. My anxiety increased when I received a text from Jenny, informing me that she was going out and was just cleaning up. I felt shaky, not knowing whether my nervousness was due to meeting a woman after so long or the strangeness of the situation. Suddenly, I heard a strange sound like the cracking of a stick in the distance. I turned on the flashlight on my iPhone, illuminating the dark corner of the yard, and the image before my eyes made my heart stop. An arm was moving vaguely behind the wooden shed, as if there was someone hiding. Hastily turned off the flashlight and quietly backed away. I returned to the car. As I was leaving the area, a deranged scream from a woman rang out, begging me not to leave. The front door of the house opened, and I heard a loud pop, like something had exploded or been destroyed. The feeling of panic made me step on the accelerator and flee that area. I parked my car a few blocks away and realized my tire was punctured. In a panic, I called the car repair service and asked them to come immediately. When the mechanic came and discovered the bullet still stuck in the tire, he believed my story. In the presence of the police, the incident was thoroughly investigated and 3 people were arrested: a dirty woman and 2 men, all of whom appeared to be caught up in a life of crime and degeneration. Although I no longer clearly remember the details of the trial, the humor of the situation struck me as ironic. 3 people had caused a serious incident, but exposed themselves in an absurd way, as if their darkness cannot hide their own stupidity. Story 2. Expensive Lessons. My mother and stepfather, who owned the farm, decided to sell their old truck and buy a new one. To facilitate the sale, they put the used car online and quickly received interest from a woman living in a rural area about 4 hours away. She seemed extremely excited about the truck, but kept giving reasons why she couldn't come pick it up herself. My mother, although often a bit skeptical, accepted my stepfather's offer to drive the new car all the way there that Saturday. Although my mother was somewhat skeptical, she still agreed to the plan. Upon arrival, the woman told an elaborate story about banking problems and presented a bad check. She begged my stepfather to leave the check in his name, making my mother feel worried. The argument between them became heated when my mother tried to cancel the check, but there was nothing she could do but give in. So they had to drive another 4 hours back home, and as everyone expected, the check bounced on the due date. The woman began avoiding my stepfather's calls for a while, and when she finally answered, she gave another complicated story about being in the hospital. My stepfather, steadfast in his stance, announced that they would take the truck back, so they had to drive another 4 hours back there, this time preparing a flatbed in case any parts needed to be replaced. When they arrived, they found no one answering the door at the property. After finding the truck in the barn, my stepdad tried to load it onto the flatbed. While busy with her luggage, my mother noticed a strange thank you note left by the woman. She didn't leave a sincere thank you note, just a sloppy line of text. Nothing clear, just a statement that could feel the irony. My mother felt frustrated but could do nothing but return. After just 15 minutes on the way home, the phone rang and the woman, although supposedly at the hospital, called my mother. That she threatened that she knew exactly where they lived. 2 days later, our family went through a terrible experience. Early that morning, my stepfather woke up to a strange sound, someone climbing into the house through his bedroom window. My mother's screams echoed throughout the house, and in a horrifying moment, I saw the woman, frantic and wielding a knife, rush into my stepfather's bedroom. Even though she was armed, my stepfather used all his strength to take her down. The scene was filled with violence and horror, causing our entire family to panic. The incident was reported to the police, and the woman was arrested. The story of her intrusion and actions was shocking, but also a lesson in caution in life. Sometimes retribution brings an unimaginable result. Story 3: A good deal turns into a nightmare. In 2002, Craigslist was still a relatively simple platform where people traded old and unwanted items. During that period, buying and selling items such as hockey nets online was not as popular as it is today. My son, who was 11 at the time, and I were looking for a hockey net to practice on in the cul-de-sac where we lived. While scrolling through Craigslist, I spotted an ad for a hockey net for $50, along with a puck and 2 used hockey sticks. The ad stated that the seller lived 2 hours away from us and promised that this was a great bargain. I called the seller, a man with a deep voice and nothing suspicious. The conversation was uneventful, and he agreed to meet us at a truck stop on the highway in the evening. The seller, named Steve, promised that he would put the net and other items in the back of his pickup truck, but could only come after business hours. That evening it was dark when my son and I, driving my wife's minivan, pulled up to the stop. This is a deserted area, illuminated by 3 large lampposts, creating a faint light in the night. I parked right under one of the light poles, my heart pounding as I waited for the pickup truck to appear. A moment later, a pickup truck turned off the highway and stopped in front of us. I walked up to the seller's window but felt a thrill when I noticed the back of the truck was empty, with no sign of the hockey items he'd promised. Steve, the man I was meeting, asked me to wait a moment and said his belongings were being moved from his car. A feeling of insecurity spread within me. I told my son to get back in the car and lock the doors. From the darkness, I saw 2 other pickup trucks moving toward us. These cars seemed unfamiliar and increased my anxiety. As soon as 3 big, muscular men stepped out of 2 pickup trucks, my fear became more intense than ever. They looked at me with menacing eyes. One of them was bald, wore sunglasses, and seemed very aggressive. He demanded money immediately. I had no choice but to take out my wallet and give him the agreed amount of money, but kept begging him to let me and my son leave. He took the money and asked for more, threatening that if it wasn't enough, we would be in trouble. Meanwhile, another man started approaching my son's car. I could no longer keep calm, screaming and begging not to harm the child. Panic caused me to lose all ability to think logically. One of them, with great force, smashed the back window of the minivan, and I heard my son's pitiful scream coming from inside the car. It was a sound I will never forget. In the midst of despair, I began to pray. I feel like everything is collapsing around me. At that moment, a car appeared from the side of the highway. All the men stopped and turned toward the vehicle as it approached. Joy and hope filled me when I realized it was a police car. The police car's lights began to flash, and as it approached, everything seemed to slow down. The men saw the police car, immediately returned to their pickup truck, and sped down the highway in panic. Two of the pickup trucks were immediately stopped by police, and a support team arrived on the scene shortly after. I quickly explained the situation to the officers, and they worked quickly to arrest the suspects. The men in the rear pickup truck appeared to be disloyal to their group and were quickly arrested. I was escorted back home by the police, and both my son and I felt relieved and safer than ever. Although this event left a deep psychological scar, I learned an important lesson about caution in dealings on Craigslist. In the days that followed, I became more cautious than ever in protecting my son and always maintained a high level of vigilance in every encounter. These stories are not just bad dreams, but also painful lessons about trust and caution. When life can easily be turned upside down with just one wrong decision, we need to remember that not all that glitters is gold. Ghosts from the past, scammers hide behind tantalizing images, and hidden dangers lurk in the shadows. Be careful, because in this world, the unimaginable can become reality in the blink of an eye. Are you brave enough to face the mysteries that await?